Hey guys, welcome to today's Vehicle Visionary. Today my friends at Holmes Honda here in Shreveport, Louisiana have loaned me this 2021 Honda HRV. This is the EX trim level, and if you watched my video on the sport trim level of this vehicle, this one has quite a few more features, and we'll take a look at what all of those are as we work our way through the tour of this particular model. Of course, it does come with Honda sensing, so there's a big step up right there. Honda's safety feature, or suite of safety features, I should say. And I'll list all of that on the screen for you so you can know what is what. And here are a couple of other things. Of course, this model is Aegean blue exterior color with black interior, but I want to show you something on the interior that we didn't have in our previous video. There it is right there. You have a sunroof. Now it's not panoramic, but still a power sunroof in this model. So quite a few nice features to start out with. And of course, you do have your LED daytime running lights. That's what this is going to be right here. And overall, the front end looking very nice. I like the way that the hood is contoured on this model. Give you a quick look at that from a couple of different angles here, just so that you can kind of see what's there. It's not just flat. I like the character lines, as I like to call them, of the overall vehicle itself, not only on the hood, but what you see on the lower portion of the doors right there and the upper portion as well. Just a quick little look at that to see the lines that make this little HRV seem like a pretty sporty vehicle. Of course, down on the lower portion of the bumper down there, you will see it does have fog lights in the upper and lower grille, allowing for plenty of airflow to the engine under the hood. And we'll take a look at that in just a minute and talk about exactly what that is. Of course, you do have the black trim that literally runs around the entire vehicle, as you can see, over the fender wells, under the doors, and continues its way onto the back. And by the way, these are actually heated power side view mirrors, turn signal indicator built in, and of course you can see the roof rails up on the top of the vehicle. And when it comes to power under the hood, there may not be a lot of power, but that means great gas mileage. And this is a very proven engine combination. It's not something that's new to the Honda family. Honda, of course, being known for reliability, and this 1.8 liter four-cylinder is most certainly that. And one thing I really like here, you don't have a lot of plastic on top of the engine hiding everything. And just for me personally, as basically a self-proclaimed gearhead, I like that. It is mated to a continuously variable transmission, or what is known as a shiftless transmission. And if you haven't ever had the experience of what that's like, you'll find out on the test drive later on when we get out on the road. Great gas mileage, of course, with this model of engine. That is not going to be a problem. Of course, as we continue our way around the vehicle, you have the 17-inch alloy wheels. And of course, you do have the black trim highlighting the windows, a little bit of a factory tint there. You've got the rear roof spoiler and of course the shark fin antenna on the top. And we'll take a quick look here at the rear of the vehicle before we take a look at the interior, starting with the rear cargo area. Now, this is not a power lift gate, but that lift gate is very easy to open. Once you open it to a certain point, it's just going to automatically, those struts right there are going to automatically just basically take over. Just a quick little look around in here. You do have a cargo light here. You'll have to turn that on, but not a big deal. Just make sure you remember to turn that off when you're finished. And there's a lot of space back here, and I'll show you in just a second how to lower those seats. But here's some really good news for those of you who might want to know. A lot of the Hondas these days have the spare tire repair kit, not this particular model in it. And at a price point of a little over $25,000, you're still getting a great deal on this vehicle. And of course, you have the 60-40 split rear seats. Let's see if I can get these to go down holding the camera. Now that's gonna get kind of stuck there on the front seats, but those will fold flat. And for a subcompact model, as you can see, there is no shortage of cargo space. In fact, there is quite a bit here. I've listed the numbers on the screen for you so you can see exactly what that is. But you're gonna be actually in a really solid position when it comes to hauling materials, whatever, groceries, and quite a few things you can stick back here in the rear when you go to the grocery store or wherever you go. Not pushing very hard on this rear lift gate, and it closes nice and easy. And one of the things I like here is the way that Honda has integrated this rear door handle. Instead of having it down here on the body, it gives it more of a clean look. Even though you've got the front door handles, let's just take a look at that from this angle. What do you think? Like that, guys? I think that looks good. I think it looks nice and clean on the rear. And of course, very easy to get to though, and makes it very easy to access the back seat because the doors are nice and large. You have a very large opening here, so getting into the back seat is not a problem. You do have one single map pocket there on the passenger rear of the passenger seat, but you do have more storage here with the door bins on each side. Now, if in the interest of fair reporting, just so you know, even though you have a 60-40 split rear seat here, there's no area right here where you can use the center section as a pass-through. Not a big deal because ultimately you do kind of have a pass-through just with the ability to put the seats down. There is a 12-volt power outlet right here and a cup holder. And we'll just take a quick look here at the front seat from this angle before we get into the front. And of course, there is your power sunroof. Just a nice sporty feature here. And we'll get a better look at this later on, but one of the nice features that you get with this model, see the camera on the bottom side of the passenger side mirror. That's Honda Lane Watch. Still available on some of these Honda vehicles. And of course, as you can see, this is what your driver's or passenger side door looks like. Both seats in the front, the driver and passenger seats, are fully adjustable, be it that they are manually adjustable. Now here's an interesting thing. Would you call that tri-zone climate control? Because you have 3 different settings you could technically have here with the vents here. Now, I'm just kidding. So those of you who have committed yourself to correcting people on YouTube, I'm kidding. I know that is not tri-zone climate control. I'm being completely sarcastic about that on both ends. And of course, as you can see, this gives you a good view, a little bit of storage right here. You've got a pass-through right here. Nothing unusual, but it is nice to know that it's there. There is another 12-volt power outlet. And then as you can see on the other side, you do have a couple of USB ports to use as well. And we'll get a better look at everything from the driver's point of view in just a minute. But here's what you have with the seats. Very comfortable materials here. And I'll tell you what, I do like the fact that there's a reasonable amount of bolstering in these front seats. Not that you're going to need to go tracking this car. I don't think that's going to go too well as far as doing well, but who knows? It might make for a good viral video if you're a YouTuber. Before we hop into the interior, guys, here is your remote. Notice what's missing. There's no key. You have push button start, but of course you have lock, unlock. You can open your rear lift gate, and there is a panic button right there on the bottom. And here on the driver's side door, of course, quite a few features that we didn't have on the other side that you would expect. Essentially, you can adjust the side view mirrors, child safety locks, and all that good stuff. And here are some of the features you're going to find on the left-hand side of the dashboard. Of course, there's Econ mode if you wish to take advantage of that. And we'll hop inside. And when we hop inside, you're going to notice that when you push your foot onto the brake pedal, of course, the engine start button is going to light up. And unlike the sport model that we looked at a few days ago here on Vehicle Visionary, the dashboard definitely looks somewhat different here on this model. So you're going to see some upgrades here. And for not much more money, I must say, Honda has done a really good job with the price point of this particular model. Of course, the steering wheel mounted controls, everything you want to control here, as you can see, just kind of showing you what's here. Very nice and comfortable steering wheel. It's not leather wrapped, but it is comfortable. And just a quick little look here at the dashboard and at what you have here. And hey, we can drive 172 miles. I've just put the first few miles on this vehicle because it was just PDI'd at the dealership. And of course, a good look at the air conditioner, the vents, I should say, the air conditioning vents. And you don't have dual zone climate control. Yes, I was being very sarcastic about tri-zone climate over here, but when it's all said and done, in all reality and seriousness, you really don't need dual or tri-zone climate control here. That's why there's no vents in the rear. In fact, you don't even have tri-zone here in the front. But you will notice that there's a difference here with the air conditioning controls. Everything is digital right here, as opposed to the buttons and switches and dials that we had in the Sport model that we looked at a few days ago. And of course, the very simple to use Honda infotainment screen is just one of the easiest to use I think I've ever seen in any model of vehicle. Everything that you're used to here, as you can see, I mean, I don't even have to really go into a lot of detail about what's available here. Quite a bit. There is your shifter, not a push button shifter, just a good old-fashioned shifter right there. And as you can see on the screen, I don't know how well you can see it, there we go. We've got drive, and you can also pull it all the way back into sport mode if you wish to. You've got your electronic parking brake or power parking brake, and then brake hold if you wish to use that, so when you come to a complete stop, the vehicle just keeps the brakes engaged and you don't have to do anything but basically sit. If you're stuck in traffic, for example, that could be a very useful thing. Let me get a couple of my items here out of the way. With your cup holder areas right here, got some space there. And I like the fact that you can take the console lid here and move that back and forth a little bit. That's what I call a multitasker, because you can use it as more than just the lid for the console. You can also use that as an armrest if you wish to do so. Now, as we pull out onto the road here, I have to say that for a subcompact SUV or a crossover, it's actually a CUV, a crossover utility vehicle. And I'm really surprised. I've never heard anything about that in the past, but I did recently learn about that. I think I got that terminology right. But again, for those of you who have committed your lives to correcting people on YouTube, if I didn't get it right, I'm sure I'll hear all about it in the comments. And guys, I'm just kidding around, so make sure you laugh, at least give me a courtesy laugh on that. But this small of a vehicle, a crossover, a subcompact, a lot of the time you're going to find that they have kind of a rough ride to them. Honda is known for vehicles that are reliable and typically ride pretty well, even in this particular segment with Honda's smallest of their SUVs. These are roads that I drive all the time, day in and day out. I live in this part of town, so I'm driving through here all the time, and I can tell you where every little bump and dip and hump and anything is in the road. And a lot of the stuff that I normally notice when I'm driving, I don't notice in this vehicle, so that's good. Of course, you've got good responsive steering. This is not sports car-like steering. You're not necessarily going to get the kind of feedback you would, but just kind of cruising through the corner here as I am. Let's be safe here, getting by there, make sure no one's going to come into my lane. But I still didn't slow down very much right there. We're going to go up through this corner a little bit faster right here. I know this isn't where I normally do my test drives, but just a little bit of a change of scenery, but still some corners so that we can test the handling of the HRV. And like I said, it's not meant to be something that you throw into the corners real hard, but for the sake of the test drive, we're just going to try a little bit here to see how it does. And we'll cruise through this light here because I want to make sure there's nobody behind me. But before I get up here, I'm going to get on the brakes just a little bit here, kind of slow down some. The brakes are nice and responsive, but not overly responsive. I slowed down quite a bit right there. Let's hit the brakes one more time. Nobody behind me. Slowing down very quickly. Not a heavy amount of nosedive. Of course, I didn't just slam on the brakes right there, but I do like the fact that the brakes are pretty much responsive to what you do with your foot. Now, if you've ever driven a vehicle that has overly aggressive brakes on it, kind of an aggressive brake pedal, and you unintentionally brake check your passengers or maybe even yourself the first time you hop in the vehicle, not going to have that problem here. I really like that. And for such a small vehicle that weighs, I believe, around 3,100 pounds, this is a light vehicle no matter what class you put it in. That's one thing that's definitely going to help in that area. It's not going to require as much braking power, but I do have to say Honda has done a good job with balancing the brakes with the size of the vehicle. Let's go ahead and change lanes here real quick, and that way you can kind of see how this works. There is a good view of Honda Lane Watch and how nice that is, how that works. Now, as I take off from the light here, guys, that does remind me of something I haven't mentioned earlier. There is no auto stop start feature here on this model. That's right, my buddy David is going to be very happy about that. If you were going to buy one of these, David, you don't even have to worry about that. Now, I realize there are situations where that is going to be a useful feature, but for those of us who are not a big fan of the auto stop start feature, where you come to a complete stop and the engine basically shuts down until you start moving again, that's just something we're glad not to have to deal with. And I realize there are times where that could ultimately be useful. It's also going to use up the starter on your vehicle twice as fast. So one more thing I wanted to do here, guys, and with the vehicle in front of me, and honestly it's gonna be kind of an unfair test, not as accurate, but I wanted to go up a little bit of a hill. So we're gonna kind of take our time down this hill to try to avoid, make sure there's no one behind me. I just want to kind of see how it accelerates up a hill. And even though this isn't much of a hill, let's just try and go up the hill. See how it does. It had to really work a little bit. I put the pedal down about 3/4 of the way, and you could hear the way the engine and the transmission were working going up the hill right there. But honestly, it wasn't that bad. It probably sounded a lot worse than it was, but just kind of a thought to say, well, let's just try doing something a little bit different, especially with this 141 horsepower HRV. Tell me down in the comments, guys, if you plan to buy an HRV, what trim level would you like and why? I appreciate my friends at Holmes Honda for loaning me this model for the day, and all of you for being kind enough to take the time to watch. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Have a great day, guys.